That's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, narrated by Disney or current Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it, Legends. Today I have for you the next arc in the Young Jedi Knights series, which is books 7 through 11, which is the Diversity Alliance arc, which is one big story going through that. So we'll start with book number 7, which is Shards of Alderaan. So the big thing with this book, because this is of course after the whole Shadow Academy incident, so there's a bit of rebuilding. Again, the timeline placement of the Young Jedi Knights, the Junior Jedi Knights book, a little hard to determine exactly where that all fits and goes. At the same time, too, Leia is still Chief of State here, but if I'm fairly certain she was not Chief of State in Hand of Thrawn. I think I'm like 85% certain about that. So if I'm right, then that would also suggest that these should be placed before Hand of Thrawn, but then virtually everyone I've ever met puts these after Hand of Thrawn, so just leave them here, you know. But it is Leia's birthday, and so the kids, along with their friends, want to go get a shard, a piece of Alderaan in the Alderaanian system, because, you know, the planet blew up, so there should be chunk and debris left. They want to bring a piece of Alderaan to their mother, Jason Jane anyway, as a means of, you know, being a birthday present, which is really sweet. But the one thing I don't appreciate about this book is the fact that no one addresses the fact that Luke and Leia are twins. Nobody cares about giving Luke Skywalker a gift for his birthday, even though they have the same birthday. Frick Luke, I guess. But along the way, we have little mentions of this Diversity Alliance. What is that? We'll get more into that into the next story. But the big thing here is Boba Fett pops up and tries to defeat our young heroes. Now, here's the thing. This is a young adult novel, so I understand things behind that, and I don't mind Boba Fett being defeated by kids in a young adult story. That can work fine for me. However, they have retconned it to not be actually Boba Fett. Of course, for Kevin J. Anderson and Rebecca Moesta, that was absolutely the point. Like, this was Boba. That was what was going on in their mind when they wrote the character into the story. But, retroactively, that is not Boba Fett. That is supposed to be Boba Fett's daughter, who we were introduced to in the comics, but you will make a brief appearance in Legacy of the Force as well. So, it's basically just Boba Fett. Like, it doesn't, you know, seem to insinuate at all that it's not Boba Fett, outside the fact that, you know, gets outsmarted by kids and, you know, makes some mistakes and there's one time they speculate, well, maybe he's a woman, you know, so outside of that, though, this was intended to be Boba Fett, but it's, retroactively, it isn't, but it is what it is. Zek is, of course, recovering because he was an evil person in the previous arc. He is now also more of when he recovers, he decides, I'm going to be a bounty hunter. He's not a Jedi, and he's not a Sith, he's not a Dark Jedi, he's just going to be a bounty hunter. But also the other big plot point of the story is that Raynar's dad is missing, which kind of becomes the central focus of this entire arc. Now, I like Raynar. I don't think he's as cool as Yuldor in the Junior Jedi Knights books, but he's cool, and he gets one of the worst fates ever, moving forward in the expanded universe without having to actually die. A lot of people don't like that story, but it's still crazy how much relevance he ends up actually having moving forward. But I like Raynar. He's a cool kid. Um, also, our heroes, our young heroes, get a ship. Also, it's freaking hot, but I can't have the fans running because I want you to hear me. Anyway, Tino Cobb gets a ship that the kids can use to go on adventures, which is the Rock Dragon, which is pretty cool. And that's pretty much my last note for this book. Book 8 is the Diversity Alliance. Here we get to meet Raynar's mother. We get more introduced to Nala Tarkana, who is the big bad of this arc. And now Zach has become a bounty hunter at this point, so he's off searching to do missions and stuff. And he ends up getting into a fight with Boba Fett. Well, Boba Fett's daughter, but regardless, that's kind of cool. Sorry, I'm dying. I'm literally dying. I am in an oven right now. Don't make a joke, Noah. Don't you dare. Also, apparently, Nala's half-sister was the episode 6 Twilight girl that we saw fall into the Sarlacc pit. So that's a little interesting. She was in the Tales from Jabba's Palace. Apparently, she's the half-sister of her. So it's part of the reason for her hatred for humans. Also, IG-88. But is it actually IG-88? Is this a contradiction in the expanded universe? Because if you remember, in the Tales... I think it was Tales from Tales of the Bounty Hunters. Kevin J. Anderson wrote a short story with IG-88 and what happened to him and his demise. So, did Kevin J. Anderson contradict his own story? Wait and see. Book 9, Delusions of Grandeur. I like the title. We really get to we get introduced to Rabba, who is kind of this like girlfriend or something that Loie has a crush on, and he really likes her, but she's with the Diversity Alliance. And I haven't really gotten into the Diversity Alliance this much, but it's basically racism. This book series for children, written in like the late 90s, is actually far more relevant to today than a lot of other things are, because the whole thing with the Diversity Alliance is they feel scorned, they feel like they've been wronged by humans, by the Empire for so long. And Nala Tarkana especially is just straight up racist. She talks about racism, she talks about the evils of humanity and what they've done to aliens, and yet her entire goal in this series, as you'll see, is just hatred for hatred's sake. Like she claims, like, I'm fighting for the little people, and yet she's willing to kill everybody in her path. But the way it handles it, it's not like in your face, but it's very like, yeah, two wrongs don't make a right. And which, I mean, is a typical lesson, but like, you could see how kind of freaking whacked it all is when you read the series. Also, who returns in this book? Oh my goodness, it's Lusa. For those of you who don't remember, Lusa is from Crystal Star. She's like a centaur. She's like half person, half horse. Kind of weird, but that's what she is. And she had joined the Diversity Alliance due to the events of Crystal Star. Look at this. Look at this. This is what the expanded universe does, baby. It's what it always does, and it's great. Sure, you could just read this book. You don't know who Lusa is. Whatever. Or you read Crystal Star. Maybe you hated it. Maybe you loved it. Who cares? But then you read this book, and you feel validated, regardless of how you felt about the Crystal Star, because you feel like your time isn't wasted, even if you don't like it. Which is why, not to derail it, Bounty Hunter Wars sucks so much, because at least if it was referenced and important to later events, I could be like, well, my time wasn't wasted though, because it's relevant to later stuff. But it isn't, ever. It's never brought up again. But Crystal Star is, so whether you're a huge fan of it, somewhere in the middle, or you despise that book, at least you don't have to feel like your time is wasted because a character returns here. And she actually has an important plot relevant thing with the main story, with because of the events of the Crystal Star and what Hithrar did to her and whatnot. She joined the Diversity Alliance because she harbored a lot of hatred for humans, despite Jaina and Jason helping and whatnot. But she has since repented of those beliefs and is trying to help Luke and Jason and Jaina and all of them with their stuff. She also kind of is getting a romantic sort of tingling with Raynar, so that's interesting. Also, Zek, while going on his bounty hunting missions, trying to also find what everybody else is looking for and all that, he goes to the planet Ziost. Ziost will be important moving forward, so I'm glad that it's referenced here. And then the big thing in this book, too, is we get Dengar. Dengar's fine in here. My favorite story with him is definitely from Tales of the Bounty Hunters, but he's fine here. He's not horrible, he's not great, he's just kind of around, you know? And he's fine, you know, he's doing great, it's gonna be like this for most summer guys, like, I can't help it, like, it is hot, but, you know, he's fine, it's just, like, he's, like, what, 70 or 80 now, and he's still, like, you know, kind of crazy, but it was fun to see him again. Oh my god, also we learned the truth about, IG-88, which is that it is IG-88's body, but it's not the original IG-88, because as the Kevin J. Anderson story from Tales of the Bounty Hunters told us, he took possession of the second Death Star in Episode 6, and when it blew up, he died with it. But the body remained, and so it just got reprogrammed. So that's it, you know. So that's cool. Also, it's been 10 years since Crystal Star, which is insane. Book 10, Jedi Bounty. You know, Rabba convinced Loey to kind of join the Diversity Alliance, but he doesn't like it because he can see how racist it is toward humans, so he's kind of trapped there. And so they go to rescue Loey, and kind of the whole book kind of basically takes place on Ryloth and them trying to rescue Loey. While we get to see more of the Diversity Alliance and all that, and a lot of. But the most important section of that is that there's a part where Jason and Tino Khan need to stay warm, and it's a very, very cute scene. You could clearly see the chemistry and the build up there and all that, and it's phenomenal. But yeah, they eventually get off, and this will cause political conflicts for the finale, which is book 11, Emperor's Plague. So one thing I've yet to address, but I will address it here. So because of the events of the last book, now the whole Senate's like up in arms, like, look at humans being racist, trying to mess with this movement when it's purely just a peaceful movement, which it's not. But, you know, so it's causing all political upheaval. Now, the big thing that Nola Tarkana wants to do is, do you remember the X-Wing books? I hope you do, because this will make you appreciate this book more. So the X-Wing books, in the Krytos Trap, Izard used an old thing that Palpatine had kind of like researched into but decided against it to use against anything. It was a plague that would only infect non-humans. You know, that would start killing them off. And it's a big thing that they had to stop in the X-Wing books. Here, she wants to use the opposite effect, because Palpatine made contingencies upon contingencies upon contingencies. It wasn't just super obvious super weapons. He also made several chemical warfare diseases, viruses, and stuff to kill whoever he needed to. Even humans, but the humans thing, he is still a human, so I think he kind of held off on that one, because that one's a bit too risque. So she wants to do what the Krytos Trap did to all those aliens in the X-Wing books, except she wants to kill every human with this virus, with this plague. But you also learn that there's plagues for almost like every single species in the galaxy. Palpatine worked hard on having contingencies upon contingencies upon contingencies, but he never got to use those plagues. Or maybe decided, just because of how dangerous that could be and how it could mutate, he decided against using them. But he made several, or had people make several of those for him, which is great, because even in death you can see the influence and the scope that Palpatine truly had, and I think that's really cool. And again, Jason's humor has not gone away. There's been a lot of harrowing and trying things in this series, and yet Jason remains consistently the same character. He is not super philosophical and serious and questioning his beliefs in the Force, but in 6 months' time, he apparently will. What? Bullcrap. It's why I'm writing a short story. Yeah, and so, eventually by the end of it, they have to have an inspection on Ryloth, looking into the Diversity Alliance. Luke goes, Lucy goes, Seagal goes from Jedi Academy, a character we met in the last book, and, to determine that stuff. Meanwhile, Loey and everyone's doing stuff, and they stop the plagues, they stop Nola Tarkana. Nola Tarkana gets infected. She wants Rabba to take her to Coruscant so she can infect everybody, but Rabba decides against it. She takes her to a remote planet. Nala Tarkana dies, and Rabba, as far as I'm aware, because we have no stories with her currently, remains on that planet for the rest of her life until she dies, so she doesn't spread the plague to anyone else. But, I think Brendan wants to tell a story post-Crucible with her, but as of now, we have no stories with Rabba after the events of this book. And, of course, by the end of it, through Boba Fett's daughter, being like, I don't care about sides or morality. I just want to get paid for the next job, which is why normal Boba Fett's so boring. But Jack's like, I don't want to be like you. I don't want to do that. And so he ends up becoming a Jedi Knight by the end of this series. So, very cool. And that's pretty much it. I love the Diversity Alliance. I feel like I've had a little bit less to say about it than the previous arc, but that may also be because I'm scorching hot right now. Like, I feel like bacon. I'm dying, guys. But, I think this is the best arc of Young Jedi Knights. I love that it's not Force users that are bad guys. It is disenfranchised people that are fed up with their lot in life, aliens, and throughout the expanded universe, especially, if you read the expanded universe, you can really, it's been a thing, like the Emperor's like a racist bastard, so it's cool to see, like, the flip of the coin, right, because not everybody in the Diversity Alliance is, like, evil, right, but you have the dichotomy, like, and they're willing to do violent stuff because equality, and two wrongs don't make a right. And it is a powerful thing to have kids read, I think. I mean, it's not, is it like Citizen Kane or anything? No, but I think it's a good lesson and stuff for kids to see. There's two bad sides to everything. And, yeah, I absolutely loved it. That and the fact that by the final book that I forgot to mention, he says, Jason Solo says, I don't think I can be surprised by anything moving forward. He will be when the Vong show up. But that's not what matters because Tino Call swoops in like a boss, like a freaking love her, and she goes and smooches Jason on the lips and goes, were you surprised by that? See, they're meant to be. And then they just ignore it in Vector Prime. What? But yeah, to all of you saying, oh, they're not a couple. Piss off. You know I'm right. Shut your damn mouth. I'm right. You're wrong. Get out of here. Doesn't address in Vector Prime. Jason's not acting like himself, but you all want to complain about darkness because, yeah, we're getting. Vector Prime is just as much an issue when it comes to Jason Solo. Specifically. But don't worry. Me and Brennan, in time, will fix that. And then I'll fix all your little complaints about darkness and everything, too. And then it'll be one whole beautiful universe where there can be no complaints about Jason Solo's arc because Jason Solo has the best arc in the entire expanded universe. Frick you. Anyway, sorry, I'm hot and dying, so yeah. That's pretty much it, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. We have 3 books left in the Young Jedi Knights series. After that, I have a couple other ideas, but then we're moving on to the New Jedi Order, to the Vong invasion. And I hope you all join me for my rereads of that, because that's the peak of the EU. Anyway, guys, until next time, may the Force be with you.